Hi, and welcome back to the Who's Judging podcast. I'm Danny.
I'm Connor.
Today, we're going to be diving into the world of meat substitutes that have become increasingly popular in recent years. Okay, so first off, here, what are some popular meat substitutes and how do they compare in terms of taste and nutrition? I'll let you go first.
All right. I think obviously the two most popular are Beyond and Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of took over. There's always Morningstar too.
Mm-hmm.
Incognito.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think
coolest one
those
probably.
the Beyond and Impossible are more well known amongst non-vegans.
Right. And they took
Yeah.
like the bold names in terms of this is Beyond Meat or
Mm-hmm.
Impossible Meat
Yeah.
because they took it as in it wasn't supposed to be able to happen
Yeah,
to make like a close meat substitute.
of course. How do you think they compare in terms of taste and
Oh,
nutrition?
honestly, this is one of the questions that I don't like a whole lot because I don't really, it's hard to remember what it tasted like
Mm-hmm.
before. But I think Impossible tastes closer to what I remember.
Impossible, yeah.
And so that's why I kind of like Beyond better because it doesn't taste exactly the same. Because
Yeah.
the first time I had Impossible, it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
because I had it at a restaurant. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
did they make a real patty?
Yeah.
Like,
Vegans can relate.
yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been vegan around the same amount of time,
Yeah.
so I feel like we hit those like um points in life where we're like, okay, like now we're getting vegan substitutes when we didn't before.
Right.
For me, I I used to like Beyond Meat.
Uh-huh.
I don't like it that much anymore. I am able to eat it, but I think it has a very particular taste
Uh-huh. It does, yeah.
that I think maybe like throughout just eating it, and I'm not like I don't eat it daily or anything, but I think just like as soon as I have it, I'm like, oh, that's that Beyond taste that I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I think
Uh-huh.
they're hit or miss with people. People either
Mm-hmm.
really like it or they don't really like
Mm-hmm.
it. Well, I
Yeah.
think Impossible set themselves up
Yeah.
differently in terms of it's a closer taste.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
they actually Beyond Meat had their own little patent thing that they used. No, it was Impossible for the way they
Mm-hmm.
get it to bleed. And so
Yeah.
that's why some people don't like them because they are both Beyond and Impossible are on iffy grounds because they both have like an animal testing aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because to use I think it was like a soy thing for the bleeding, they had to test it on the animals before it could be FDA regulated and
How
put
did
in.
they test it on them?
I think it was just ingested, but vegans aren't going to
Right.
like that.
How do
And
you
then,
feel about that?
well, see, that's iffy because I haven't really known that for that long.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the other one was with Beyond. They used real meat in chew tests to taste how similar the product was.
Okay.
And so
I
that's
personally am okay with
right.
that.
That one almost seems arguably worse.
You think?
Well, because you're either testing on them or you bought.
Yeah.
But like you see why they did it on both sides, but
Yeah.
it's just whether you think the ends were justify the
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, but hey, they might not have been so successful without it because it might not have tasted how they wanted.
Yeah. I often wonder like, do vegans prefer the meat taste? I don't know what like the majority feel. I personally don't. Like, for example, like I would rather buy the Trader Joe's meatballs, the vegan meatballs for like spaghetti and meatballs, as opposed to the Beyond by 1,000% because the Trader Joe's, they don't taste like meat. They just taste like they have like a very neutral taste, and whatever sauce you put them in, they'll absorb that taste. I like the texture, and it just like more packed on the veggie as opposed to like focusing on getting a fake meat.
I think we roll usually with Gardein for the meatballs. But yeah, I think that's one of the big questions is who the target audience for the Beyond Burgers and like the Impossible Burgers.
I don't think it's
Are they targeting vegans? Are they targeting like the middle ground people trying to go vegan? Or are they targeting just the general public?
I think it's the general public.
Yeah.
It almost seems like
general public or like those like bridgers, the ones that are trying to go.
I'm gonna say general public because of their ads. Yeah. Like all their ads are like just focused on like you would never know. Like you can continue living the life that you're living, basically.
Right.
While being healthier. They almost I don't think there's a lot of
Right. I think
ethical
the counterpart
propaganda.
though would be though, do they need to advertise it to vegans? That was the question. So they might not target the ad because the vegans will already have it or already know about it, but that would still point you towards that it's a general public that they're going for now at least.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of like my non-vegan friends and families like those.
right.
So I mean that's a plus.
Right.
I personally like appreciate that they're out on the market because for example like we're having like a engagement party on Saturday. And I was like I do not want to cook anything that's non-vegan, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
And everybody's always complaining in my family. And my brother actually suggested, he's like, just do burgers. Because he knew he can eat the Beyond or Impossible. Yeah. He's like, I'm okay with that. Right. Like, and me being the vegan, I'm like, okay, I can do it also. I don't prefer it.
Right.
Like, I'd rather, I might just get some other patties for myself or something. Like Dr. Prager's, those are really good. Like, I prefer the veggie burgers, like sweet potato and black bean patties. Like, that's what I prefer.
I just feel like for the parties, it's funny because you can't win from our point of view. Yeah. If you put just vegan food out, then people are like, they're iffy. They're like, really, just vegan food? Oh, yeah. And then if you serve normal food, they're like, aren't you vegan? You're serving this? Gosh. You're like, what do you want from me? It's so hard. Yeah, for sure. So how often do you eat them? Like a Beyond Burger or Impossible or the meat crumble or anything? I would say I try not to. So I definitely am not one that shops. Like when I'm grocery shopping, I'm just the produce section. So I try to focus on veggies and like whole foods. But that's like my ideal diet. When I'm on the go, when I'm in a hurry or whatever, that's when I'll eat those, right? I would say it happens like, I don't know, like 3 meals a week or so. Out of the whole week. But that's just because I'm in a hurry, but it's not my preference. Ideal. Yeah. Like it's not like I would buy, because they are expensive, right? Yeah, no, so it's not like if I had more money to spend on them, I would buy them. Like I wouldn't, because we don't know the effects. I don't think long-term effects or like theoretically, yeah. Well, we really don't. They're newish, right? And right, but they're all outside of that. The bleeding thing that the Impossible used, I'm not sure what else any of the like Beyond's using that's not been tested. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe the combination of them. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, yeah, theoretically. Yeah. We have dogs. It's okay. Agreed. So I don't typically reach for those, but I know that you do. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's much more than you, maybe like 4 times a week. Okay. Because my mom does like trying new recipes and my dad prefers not to have them. Like he would prefer like the tofu or the other stuff over it because he doesn't really like them and the processed nature of them. Yeah. So he kind of pushes away from them too. And so that we're like slowly like going towards you like 3 days. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. But it's like for us, that's like our like fast food. Yeah. So it's like our convenience thing. We don't have time to cook or we don't want to cook. We don't. It's so easy to just. That's our option. Yeah, put it on a taco or something. Yeah, anything. And there's a substitute for everything now. Yeah, yeah. As opposed to like tofu, where it takes a little more time to season it and get it to. You gotta press more creative. Yeah, yeah. I get that. So how do you feel meat substitutes differ from actual meat? Well, there's no animal suffering. It's the bonus part. Yeah. I mean, it's probably better because there's no I don't think there's really an uncooked nature to them. Where I think it would be disgusting if you ate it raw, but it's not like eating raw meat, right? Or you get a parasite or something. Yeah. But yeah, the big thing that you brought up earlier is the price of them. That's what has to change if they want to attract more. Yeah. And so I think they're at like a weird crossroad where to get it down to the price of a ground beef patty, they have to produce more, like equivalent to them, because there's the economy of scales. When you scale up, it costs more or less per burger. But they're also at a point where they're still losing money. Yeah. So they can't really expand yet. And so that's why, unfortunately, I think it comes down to the players like Kellogg's, because they own one of the big ones, I think Morningstar, I think. And so they're the ones that have the money to scale it up. Does Morningstar still do eggs in some products? I think so.
I think they do, right?
Yeah, I think some like the sausages things
I didn't
aside.
know that for a while, and I think I was buying a sausage that had egg
Yeah, it's
back, way
crazy.
back. Because it obviously doesn't say anywhere unless you're looking at the ingredients. It's like,
Right. Well, egg is harder, because like milk pops up in the dairy thing, but egg could still be in there. So
yeah,
it's
it's a
interesting.
hard one. That happened with the Trader Joe's ones
Oh,
too. Have you
really?
tried the Trader Joe's sausages?
I don't think so.
They have like some really good sausages that ended up having egg. So
It's so tragic.
why do they do that to us? It's like um meatless sausages or something, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It's like the advertising is
Like,
coming to vegan, like the
yeah,
vegan marketplace, that's getting confusing. Like
it
there's between
is.
vegan to plant-based to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
non-dairy.
yeah.
It's like non-dairy doesn't
Vegetarians.
like there's like non-dairy stuff like non-dairy creamer that has milk powder in it. So I don't even know how that flies. Like
How does that fly?
I feel like milk powder would like whey powder would still be
Dairy.
dairy, but
That's
maybe I
so.
don't know what dairy means. Maybe it's something
Yeah.
specific that's like in the milk that counts
Yeah,
as the
yeah.
dairy, the liquid part.
I didn't even know that dairy free had milk powder.
Yeah. It's crazy now because even like on menus at restaurants, there's like at our work for the cafe, it's like there's like plant-based and vegan. I'm like, what are you guys considering plant-based that isn't vegan?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know. I don't really eat there, but it's like it's like
I
they're using all the confusing words to kind of grab people because it's coming trendy.
so I know that like lots of non-vegan um businesses and maybe even vegan businesses and products are moving towards plant-based
Right.
because people that are uneducated on veganism and what it actually is in terms of food would kind of deter from eating those, right? They would
Right.
hear
It
be
has a
like, oh, like a
connotation.
vegan whatever, they'd be like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, just
So
straight off
now
the
people
word.
are starting to just say plant-based or vegan friendly.
Yeah. I think plant-based comes off like Whole Foods.
Uh-huh. And it seems healthier and like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'll have this plant-based thing. Like that's much cooler than like I'm gonna have a vegan
Right.
whatever. So I think it might come from that. I feel like at the end of that's how if I see something plant-based versus vegan, I'm just like, oh yeah, sure.
Right.
Vegan. Anyway, you know?
Right. The only thing I'll give them that it technically does land right is because I think plant-based really is kind of the diet aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because going vegan is like the other part too, like
Uh-huh.
no animal products, like no leather or anything else. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think plant-based really is the diet part.
I mean,
But since
ideally,
vegan came out
yeah.
first, now there's like two different words that you don't
Right.
know if it means the same
Yeah.
thing or not.
Yeah. Ideal like for us vegans, like we know that distinction,
Right.
right? Of like vegan is a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
plant-based it is the
Right.
in food, but I don't know that others know, non-vegans
Right.
know that. And I think it's been used as a marketing
Yeah,
thing,
because for
really.
most vegan things, they have like the vegan certified logo on it
Mm-hmm.
from the organization that helps
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And whereas plant-based, there's not like a certified
Yeah,
plant-based thing.
that's true.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's just confusion.
Yeah.
Gets people in.
In terms of like cooking,
Uh-huh.
how I think they're different, obviously, is like if we move away from the impossible and the beyond, there's tofu obviously that everybody knows and that takes more time to figure out, I guess. It's very friendly to cooking because it'll absorb any um flavor that like you
Right.
marinate it, whatever it is. Like you can make it
Right. It tastes
its
like whatever you want
own.
it to be.
Yeah, if you press it. You
Yeah.
have to press it. Um, so in terms of cooking, like it doesn't take much longer. If anything, it's less, honestly,
Right.
cooking um vegan stuff versus non-vegan because um like if you're doing like a stew or whatever, like the meat takes a while and then the soy doesn't.
Right.
So I think it's like it lends itself to be more friendly in cooking, I think. And you can do so many like obviously we're talking about the popular meat substitutes, right? Like the ones that taste like meat or are advertised as meat. But there's like chickpeas and mushrooms, and those are so easy and so versatile to cook with that
Right.
like I wouldn't say that it's much more difficult to do so.
Yeah. So it kind of touches on how we were talking about their advertisements earlier, but how do you think we can use like the fake or alternative meats as like an advocacy or promoting like the vegan lifestyle? Like how do you think that could be used?
Mm, well, it's tricky because like you mean like the impossible and the beyond or just
Yeah, like the brands or the meats in general, however?
I think I don't know. Do you have any?
Well, I think for me, it's just because a lot of people, their big thing is they're like, I think a lot of people are willing to give up certain things, but meat's one of the big ones. And so as long as we can get the price down, I think it could be used a lot. Because if we can
You
show
think
them
it
that
comes down to price?
I do. I mean, well, let's put it this way. Until we get the price down, that'll always be the excuse that's used.
Yeah, that it's, oh, that's for sure. Yeah.
And so once you can get the price thing out of the way, it's easier to make the argument like, hey, it tastes very similar. And, you know, within a few years, it could taste almost the same. We don't know how they're going to evolve them. But if price isn't a factor, that puts at least the opportunity on a lot of people's plate.
Yeah.
And so once that's there, I think you can make the argument. It tastes similar, the price is similar, and it doesn't have this negative aspect to it. And I think more people will be receptive. Because at this point, it's still kind of significantly pricier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so that puts a lot of people off.
I'd like to think that would happen, but I'm skeptical. I don't know. Because there's like soy crumbles, really cheap, really affordable, right? Like soy crumbles are, I don't know, like a couple of dollars.
Right.
Unless you're buying like the popular fancy brands, right? You're buying a brand. But if you buy like at a bulk section, like at Sprouts, they have like a bin of soy crumbles. That's really affordable. And that you can, obviously you'd have to know how to do it, but like you can make it become very similar to like a meat substitute.
Right.
With the right seasoning.
I think what I like about Beyond though is that soy has also been given this like connotation, like people, and so Beyond doesn't have soy. It's non-GMO. So it's all, if the price comes down, it's all the things that people are afraid of, like the soy
or putting as
GMOs, excuses, all the other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that you're right though. Like the soy crumbles are not expensive.
Yeah.
And they're easy. They're not really much harder than Beyond, are they? Like a Beyond crumble.
The Beyond crumble, no. The Beyond crumble is expensive though.
Right. No, but I mean in terms of like preparing it, it's not too much harder, right? For the soy crumble.
No, but all you have to do is do your research.
Right.
Like you'd need bulk of seasonings, yeah.
Of course.
But because I feel like Beyond, all you have to do is salt,
fry it, season a little
pepper, bit, like very minimal.
Right, whatever you'd normally do.
Like very minimal, and the soy has zero taste. So
right, you have to
do a little more, but
not crazy.
No, and it's quick. You hydrate it and then you cook it however you want. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we got to break the soy stigma.
Yeah,
that might be a better promotional thing.
I love soy products. However, I did end up being, I wouldn't say allergic, intolerant to it.
To soy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I found out a couple years ago that I have an allergy to soy, wheat, and corn.
So have you
I'm vegan. Like I can't be allergic to all those.
So have you actually had like a reaction? Like
yeah, I get lots of bumps on my cheeks.
Oh wow. But so it's not like terrible.
It's not deadly.
A severe reaction.
I have like bumps on my cheeks.
Thankfully.
That I don't like, red bumps that don't look good.
Right.
But other than that, like it's fine. And that's it's just the allergic reaction. And I just had to reduce the amount that I would consume, and which made it harder and it sucks. But like I used to have tofu in the fridge all the time and I don't have it that often anymore.
Because soy, wheat, and corn is hard to avoid.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way, like
that's crazy.
I'm not gonna survive as a vegan if I can't have those things.
Is it like if you ate like tofu for dinner, like you would get them, or is it like you have to eat a certain amount?
No, I'd have to eat it daily.
Got it. Because I was like, that's crazy.
That's why I like cut back a lot.
Right. Because I was like, that you would have noticed that before you went vegan too. If it happened.
I think I developed it after.
Yeah, maybe because it spiked. Yeah. Your soy spiked.
Yeah. It happened after that.
Makes sense.
Although soy is in a lot of products already.
Yeah.
So.
Corn's in more though.
Yeah. So I just reduced the amount of soy. Everything else I'm eating just the same.
So what did you replace it with?
More vegetables, mushrooms, chickpeas.
It's probably for the best anyways, right?
Yeah.
Diversify.
Yeah, for sure. It's not, yeah, it just made it more difficult on me, but hey.
All right.
I have a good one here. Are there any ethical concerns surrounding the production and consumption of these? We touched on it a little bit with the animal testing.
Let's see, beyond the testing, I think just one of the other ones is that eventually I don't know if Beyond and Impossible are going to be able to survive on their own, as I said. So it might take someone else buying them out. And I don't know if I would like it if, say, Tyson bought out Beyond.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I'd buy Beyond Burgers at that point, because Tyson's like the biggest producer of chicken products.
Right.
And if they then bought out that because they want to get into it because it's now trending up compared to chicken sales, I see that as an ethical one. Other than that, I'm not really sure ethically standpoint.
Yeah. I think I would, I mean, I'm not going to say it lightly, but like, I think I would still purchase. Because at the end of the day, like, you have to, I mean, you win some, you lose some, you know, like,
right.
I would be more focused on like, okay, we have to keep this company going. We have to keep this product going, because otherwise, okay, let's say Tyson buys them. They're like, oh, this isn't doing good. We're going to get rid of Beyond. Then what?
See, I think I'm just petty. I'd be like, let Beyond fail if Tyson bought it, but I'd buy like double the amount of Impossible, I'd be like, I just want that to fail for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Although I don't do that with Kellogg's brand. I don't like Kellogg. They named if you look them up, it says like Kellogg's, the original plant-based company. And I was like, I guess it's just because like Morningstar or whatever they own existed before the other ones. But I'm like,
so they went with that.
No, I was like, I think you have to put like Morningstar.
Yeah.
You can't put Kellogg's. Kellogg's is not a plant-based company.
Yeah.
Because I looked them up and I was like, there's no way they put that. Like when I looked up, it was like when you look it up, it's like the tagline, like before you even click their website, like on the search, it says that. I didn't know that. It's like, we really gonna do that?
You're like,
So do you think that more and more companies producing the alternative meats, do you think that's just a capitalist response to the market because people are buying more, or do you think it's from an ethical standpoint?
No, I think it is because it's for money.
Right. On at least though, it does have an ethical standpoint to it, even if it's not their point.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, they're accomplishing that aspect.
It's just not their intent.
I don't think it's their intent.
Right. But we do have to give credit to Beyond, at least. I know their CEO and their founder is vegan.
Okay. So that's good.
I think Impossibles might be, but I don't know. So I'm not going to guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think those like big ones, the ones that started themselves rather than like Kellogg's buying them, I think do have, because it's not an easy business to get into. So I think you kind of have to have that motivation to get there.
Yeah, that's true. You have to have that to begin with.
If you're building it from the ground up.
Yeah. But I will say that like it is just so difficult out there, and we know, at least here in the United States, how people feel about veganism, and it's much better now, like because when we started it was
trending
just like
in the right direction.
Yeah, like it's better, like people are more open to it, and like I've even seen like people not even advertise, not even like let's say TikTok or whatever, they're like, oh, like what I eat in a day, and it obviously me as a vegan, I'm like, okay, was all vegan stuff, but they're not advertising it as such, which means like it's just becoming more of a normal thing, right? Like this is just what I eat, like I'm eating food. I don't need to go out there and say like this is vegan, right?
Right.
So I think that like now that like it's not easy putting products like that out there, like if they focused on just the ethical standpoint, I don't know that they would be where they are today.
Right.
So I can see why there wouldn't be a focus on that as well.
Here's one I just thought of. Do you think that Beyond and Impossible becoming what they are now, pretty big companies, do you think that's what kind of took us to this point where people aren't kind of like as anti-vegan?
I think so. I think they were a big reason.
What I think they've done is they've kind of mainstreamed it, where it's not a taboo anymore.
Yeah. It's those were those products that people were literally like, you're telling me this is vegan. Like I'm eating something that's vegan. Like at least I saw it with like my family and stuff, just trying this product. They're like, this is vegan? And I'm like, yeah. As opposed to like giving them like which stuff that I've given them before that is just like mushroom substitute or chickpeas or whatever. They're like, okay, yeah, it's good, but they're still missing an aspect, right?
Of course.
So when they tried Beyond, like I've also made like a lasagna with a Beyond, right? Or Impossible, and they're like, "What? Like this lasagna is really good. Like, are you sure it's vegan?" Like I give it to my niece and my nephews, and they were like, "That's vegan," and I'm like, "Yeah." So I think like um I it's bringing up the
It's opened
conversation,
people's minds
and
up
it's
to it too.
definitely opened people's mind up to it for sure.
All
I
right.
I think they're probably a big force.
And I know one of my friends is gonna count this because I'm sure I get counts every time I mention Tesla. But I do think though that like Beyond and Impossible are like the Tesla of that area, because and this comparison I'm pretty sure will make sense. Is like, so no one made electric cars before Tesla really at a scale, at least here. And so now that they are,
well, Prius.
at least at scale though, you know what I mean? Um, and now everybody is. Ford is making them, GM's making them, Volkswagen's making them. And so, I mean, really nobody was making meat alternatives at scale before
That's
Beyond
true.
and Impossible came in. And so they're like the trailblazers. And now that they've set the market, everyone's joining in. And so that's also positive. Even though that is a capitalist response to it, it still is hopefully deterring demand for the meat and increasing the demand for the alternatives.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, like, we do live in this capitalistic society, and there's no escaping it. That's the way that we can like build companies and throw products out there, right?
Because that's the other thing, is a lot of people don't like the capitalist society, but then these meat alternatives wouldn't exist without them.
Exactly.
No one's going to go through all that time and effort to make it if there's not a reward for doing so.
Yeah.
So that's positive.
Yeah. And we tend to buy the products that we hear, that we're like hearing of constantly and seeing, like we recognize their logos, right? Like,
right. Branding is huge in the US.
Exactly. Like it's not like we're gonna go out of our way and research this like small little package that you see at a grocery store, and you're like, oh, what is this? It's a meat substitute. Like you're not doing that. You're buying the Beyond Meat and you're buying the Impossible because that's what you've heard of. That's what's being thrown at you.
Yeah, basically. People buy what they know.
Yeah.
People don't like unknowns.
Yeah.
So what do you think the future of alternative meats are? Where do you think they'll evolve, or do you think they will evolve from here?
Well, yeah, the 3D printed meat. And that is scary to me. Right. Honestly, like personally, and maybe it's because I'm an older vegan, I guess you could say. Like, I don't need that.
I just think there's so many questions on whether it's even vegan.
Right.
Because if you're growing the cells of the animal, does that count as part of the animal? And now you're eating an animal. Yeah. The animal didn't have to die, but you're still eating cow, technically. Because they're pulling the cells and then growing the cells.
Yeah. So my thoughts are, how is this being done?
Right.
To me, like, veganism, I mean, obviously I think it's always evolving, the definition of veganism. Right. If I'm thinking about the future, I think it'll eventually become not like, when it comes to 3D printed meat, I don't think it's going to be like zero animal product. I think it's going to be ethical animal product. Yeah. I don't know that 3D printed meat is doing that. I don't know, because I don't know much on the subject, but if there's a way that it can be done ethically, right. For example, like dairy, right? That's not being done ethically right now in the US.
Theoretically.
It could, right? Like at a much smaller scale.
But it has to be, you can't scale it up.
Yeah, it has to be a small scale. It has to be like,
and they have to care about the
animal. Example, like me currently, like I consider myself to be vegan, but like if I had a cow and I think I would make dairy products. Okay. Would I be vegan?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't make the definition.
Exactly. So,
well, because that's what I've always gotten. People have asked me, like, if you had a chicken, would you eat the eggs? And it's like, it's a fair question, I guess, but it's also, I don't consider it super fair because I don't have a chicken. Right. And you're asking me a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, if you don't have a chicken, will you stop eating eggs?
People have asked me that all the time. And I would say, like, well, I could. I would say maybe. I personally don't have an issue with it. I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong if I were to do that. Right. I just don't like eggs. Like, I haven't had eggs for so long that I don't want them. Same with the dairy. Like, I'm not going to make cheese products because I don't miss cheese. And probably make me sick just thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's been so
Because
long.
we don't miss them.
Exactly, we don't miss it. Like it's not. We don't need that.
Once you hit a time frame, you really don't miss them.
Yeah. So.
But if I ever get a chicken, I'll let them know. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
But yeah, on the printed meat though, same thing as Beyond. For this one, I really don't know who the audience is, like who their customer base is.
I think they're taking it a step further from what Beyond and
but I think like a lot of like vegans have the have the mindset of what I was doing. Like, is it even vegan? And then a lot of people think about how much like bullshit that Beyond gets and Impossible get for being processed. And now, what are these people going to think about, say, a Wagyu steak that's grown in a lab? Like it's lab grown meat. Mm-hmm. People don't trust scientists with their food. Yeah. They want food that's like earth, like from nature. Mm-hmm. And so
you would think, but then they're purchasing all these like meats that are being produced like.
True, but it's just like I don't think people trust like lab grown stuff food wise. At least stuff that they know is lab grown. I personally
don't myself, right? But I think people do. I think the majority do, and I think people are excited for it.
Yeah, I think it's just a very easy scare tactic for, say, the meat lobby. Because I mean, people are eating up this processed thing for this. Like normal meat isn't processed. Mm-hmm. People act like it just goes from like cow to a slab to your plate.
Yeah.
But they still eat the processed thing up for Beyond. So I think they'll definitely eat up the lab thing. And it's going to take a lot of money to counteract that with ads.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sounds interesting.
But I think that I think they're just trying to get ahead in the game.
Oh, for sure.
When it comes to like the Beyond, like, okay, like you're doing like a meat product, I will give them the actual meat product without the animal.
Well, see, that's what it is for me. I'm not sure their audience is vegans. I think they have the ethical standpoint at some level. And so it replaces the animal harm, but I think it's still a product that's based for a general public that doesn't want to go vegan necessarily.
I agree because
they think they're printing it, so that's not going to be a cheap slab of meat either.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got.
So I guess there goes our dream of a vegan future.
I know. Now we got printed meat. We're trying to get rid of actual meat. Nature grown meat. And now we have to get rid of lab grown meat too, potentially. So here's an interesting question that we can end on. Some people, including vegans, argue that the fake meats perpetuate the idea that meat belongs in a diet. In terms of some people don't think that we need an alternative meat and that meat should just be kind of removed out. Mm-hmm. And so some people argue that having the alternative kind of gives off the idea that you do need the meat in the diet.
This is what you need. You need comfort in your food. That's what people look for. That's the reason why those products are here, because we're getting the same taste of a burger that we are used to. We're getting like, a nice crunchy taco with beef or lasagna that I mentioned earlier.
Familiarity too.
That's what we need. We don't need the meat. And I think that's what they're selling. This like, here's the things that you're used to eating. You don't have to miss those things.
Right. That's why I do like the name Beyond Meat, because it's like you're going beyond.
Yeah. For sure. It's a good name.
All right. Well, whether you like or disagree with alternative meats, who's judging? Not me.
Not me.